So good morning again, everyone, and welcome to this new webinar of the IEA Africa University series. My name is Zakia Adam, and I'm very pleased to be here today with Hugo Salamanca, who will present to you the IEA Energy Efficiency 2021 report findings. The Energy Efficiency 2021, it's the IEA annual update on global developments in energy efficiency. And this year's edition explores the recent trends in energy efficiency markets at the economy-wide and sectoral levels, including developments in policy and investment. So before we get into the topic, I just wanted to quickly do some scene settings and say a few words on the IEA for those who may not be familiar with our institutions. The IEA has been created in 1974 after the first oil crisis. It is an intergovernmental organization that aims at facilitating the coordination of energy policies of its member countries and beyond. Its initial mandate was to ensure the security of energy supply, mainly oil at that time, in order to support economic growth. Since the past 50 years, the IEA has expanded its expertise to all energy sources. We collect data and do analysis on almost all countries of the world. We cover all the energy sector and all technologies. And for Africa, we work extensively with AFREC, for example, but also with local governments and ministries. With around 300 statisticians, analysts, modelers, and experts on energy that work within the agency, the IEA can ensure policy advice to its members and beyond. We also work extensively on climate issues and clean energy transition, especially this year of the COP26 that was held in November. So through our regular trainings, we work closely with many countries to help them improve their data collection and also to build models. With the support of the European Union, the IEA is implementing a capacity reinforcement program for 10 sub-Saharan African countries. And in this program, for the moment, we are doing only online courses for each country, but we also have several other activities and bilateral work. We are hoping to start doing in-country training activities as soon as the situation allows us. Last but not least, if you would like to be kept informed of our activities, then do not hesitate to join our WhatsApp group and LinkedIn community. So without any further ado, I will pass the floor over to Hugo, who will present to you the key findings of the report. Hugo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Zakia. Sorry, bear with me while I try to share my screen. Please let me know when you see it. Can you see it properly?
It's coming. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you, and thank you, Zakia, for the opportunity to share the recent work from the Energy Efficiency Division here at the IEA on energy efficiency. So I'd like today to focus on specific items. So that would be to first give an overview of what the role of energy efficiency in the world is. The recent work that we have published a couple of weeks ago on energy efficiency. I will then, there's some perspectives on how energy efficiency can bring additional benefits to the world. And finally, I'll share with our colleagues here joining on the call the recent initiatives that the IEA will be promoting in the African region. So this works. So in the global context, the first thing to have in mind is that current policies, as we know, are not allowing us to reach the international targets. Therefore, one thing to keep in mind is that we will need all sources or all our resources. And as our executive director mentions it every time, energy efficiency is the very first fuel that we have at our hand. Really to keep in mind that this is a resource that all countries have, not only industrialized countries, but emerging economies as well. And they allow us to reach, to make 30% of the path that we need to, attain the sustainable goals. Of course, renewables and new technologies will also play, their part. However, energy efficiency just makes it easier and cheaper to achieve those targets. This is what we have to really keep in mind, is that it alleviates the weight and the burden that we have in terms of energy use and CO2 emissions. Just to give you another example of this, is that by having access to more efficient appliances, for example, in off-grid situations, it would make it much more easy to supply these needs and by renewable energy. So here we see that the savings made in the reduction of solar PV panels by energy efficiency outweighs the extra cost of the appliances. So by buying more efficient appliances, which usually are a bit more expensive, then we reduce the need for the solar panels that provide the energy for it, and overall we save energy. So energy efficiency plays a key role in energy access by 2030, making it again more easy, cheaper to provide access to basic needs to off-grid populations. Another dimensions to keep in mind is that in these times of global uncertainty and pandemic, all the resources that we can provide to populations will be welcome. So here again, extracted from the World Energy Outlook 2017, we see that by providing energy efficient appliances to populations, especially the lower income households, we will be divided by 10 the share of energy in their budget, divided by 10 energy expenses. This means more resources for basic needs such as food, of course, health, but education, transport, etc. So really to keep in mind that energy efficiency is something that we have out of our hand and that is available in all countries. And this is specifically important for lower income and maybe more vulnerable sections of the population. Just to highlight that we had a key work last year on the Sahel, where we explored key impacts of energy efficiency for such a region. Again, we know that electricity will be in a higher demand, and energy efficiency will play a key role to both making it easier to provide electricity access to the populations, and also ensuring that with rising levels of and standards of living, we do not exceed energy demand. Finally, transport, of course, will benefit greatly from energy efficiency. As we can see on the right side of the graph, the energy efficiency improvements that can be made in the transport sector in the sub-Saharan region, in the Sahel region, will outweigh or offset the increase in activity. So again, just to highlight some of the key resources that you are, free to download. Just to highlight on the role of energy efficiency in the net zero targets, just to remind that energy efficiency is a cost-effective solution that is already available and that can play a major role in the near future. That means in the 2030 targets, it's the main contributor to CO2 reduction with behavior change. So again, to keep in mind that energy efficiency is something that we already have, that is cost-effective, and that can play a major role as of tomorrow, actually as of today. So key highlights on the work that we have just published. Here are the links for you to download the report for free. I'm also attaching the Twitter of our division head so that you can follow the work that we do on everyday life. So here we'll be going through the recent trends, the role of energy efficiency in the net zero targets, and finally, some insight from digitalization that we hope will allow to push energy efficiency to higher levels. The first thing to have in mind is that recent years have seen energy efficiency improvements rate slow down. That means that energy efficiency has been improving, although the improvement rate has been slowing down. The 2020 pandemic, of course, had a great impact on energy efficiency improvements, and we saw a rebound, or let's say an intensity improvement rebound almost at 2% in 2021. This is one of the highest rates seen recently. However, as we can see, this is far from being enough to meet the net zero targets, where a 4% improvement is needed every year. Another main parameter to have in mind is that investment in energy efficiency had also been stagnating for the last years, but 2021 again saw an increase, a 20% increase in energy efficiency investment, which was a positive trend. Although this was again very condensed in some regions, in particular in the most industrialized countries. Places such as Germany, the United States, Europe, Australia, Japan. So are the places where we saw the largest investment increases. Most of the increase of expenditure, again, was in buildings. This is due to large retrofits programs in Europe. Again, energy efficiency related investment is one of the largest share in the economic recovery plans. Again, to keep in mind that this is mainly in the countries that we have mentioned and the regions that are most industrialized. We have also to keep in mind that there are almost 7 million of clean energy jobs that will be created in the net zero, and 5 million of those are new jobs. So the clean energy transition is a major opportunity for countries to both provide jobs to their population while improving or while ensuring that we attain the sustainable goals. So here we see the role of energy efficiency. Again, at the moment, it is yet to be increased if we are to reach the net zero targets by 2050 and 2030 in the immediate future. Another key element of the work this year was our survey that allowed us to map over the 120 countries that have implemented mandatory efficiency targets for their appliances, how this has impacted their efficiency levels. So here we see the world average, which is the dark blue bar, compared to places where programs have been implemented for the longest time. So again, this is to show that the earlier we begin, the larger the impact and the more gains are made through improved technologies in the different end users. So that's mainly appliances, but also energy management systems. To reach net zero, we will have to make all end users to contribution, both, the three main components of end use, which are industry, transport, and buildings. There are over 400 milestones in the recent net zero work. And 40 of them are concerning energy efficiency. And the report explores them in more details. So in 2030, we could see a world that would have a 40% increase in GDP while reducing energy demand. This is shown by the two bars on the left. So as you can see, the dark blue one shows the increase in GDP, 40%, while reduced energy supply by approximately 7%. Sorry. This is due mainly to reductions in buildings energy demand and transport improvements. In the industry, as we see, increases energy use, mainly due to rising living standards that entail increased demand for basic materials such as iron and steel, cement, and petrochemicals. As we can see, energy intensity will be improving by almost 40% by 2030, and a similar reduction in CO2 emissions. We will have a more electrified end-use system, and finally, a much more decarbonized electricity production mix. What we see is that digitalization might be one of the keys to unlock energy efficiency potential, as we see now how connected technologies have been increasing in the world. And we could see this year the number of connected devices be above the number of human beings on the planet. Meaning that our everyday life will be more and more connected, but also more and more dependent on these new technologies. Another angle that we have explored is how much energy efficiency has been improved by these digital technologies. And we can see that for LED, for example, the smart LED lighting, the technology that adapts to the needs, so regulating temperature according to indoor temperature or the weather, and being sure that all equipments are used at the adequate level. This brings many benefits. So just in lighting, this will reduce by 40% the energy demand, just by having a smart approach and digital approach to basic end uses. So there are two dimensions to this. There's first the equipment in itself, so device level technologies, but also the system level technology. So device level is regulating, for example, the light of the bulb, and the system level will be to manage the whole house, just to give a household experience. Investment in digital efficiency are on upward tendencies. And as we can see, this is illustrated by the number of startups that are being created every year. As we can see, the maximum of 64% was reached in 2020. So we are expecting this trend to continue as digital technologies and smart technologies will be able to allow us to reach new levels of efficiency. Again, this is major opportunities for many regions to leapfrog in terms of energy efficiency, creating a new skills and new jobs, also ensuring that cybersecurity is managed, and developing programs that will allow to match all these new dimensions. So the key conclusions from this year's work is that we are seeing positive trends in terms of energy efficiency. However, we are still far from the net zero targets needs. We have to keep in mind that energy efficiency will provide many of the multiple benefits that society is looking forward: more resilience, improved environment, new jobs. As we see, energy efficiency creates local jobs because they are mainly concentrated in the buildings and construction fields. So when we improve energy efficiency, we're not buying technologies such as PVs or renewables that might create value added in other countries, exporting countries. So really to keep in mind that energy efficiency creates local and good quality jobs. We need to triple the investment rates at this stage. Again, we have to ensure that we put people at the center of all these policies, as they are the ones who will be impacted the most by the clean transition programs. Finally, energy efficiency is a vital element of our climate action, as it makes all the other tools easier to implement. So it will make renewable energy easier to provide the energy needs. It will make it easier for innovative technologies also to reduce our emissions. Again, just to highlight some key sectors, as we can see on the right side of the screen, energy efficiency, where it be in the buildings or in industry, creates more than 10 to 15 jobs per $1 million invested. As you can see on the right side, we have two types of figures, one for advanced economies and one for the rest of the world. As we can see, recycling, clean cooking, and appliances improvements will provide major amounts of jobs. So really, this is to keep in mind when developing policies, that energy efficiency, which is based on best use of materials and improved appliances, energy efficiency, and electrification and clean cooking will create major jobs. Another parameter to keep in mind is that most of the energy efficiency savings will be benefiting from the emerging economies. So we have clarified that the rest of the world. Here you can see how China and India have benefited from the energy savings over the last decades, and looking forward, they are also where most of the energy efficiency opportunities are. Just also to highlight how cost-effective energy efficiency is, I wanted to share with you some of the figures that we developed, is that for every dollar invested in energy efficiency improvement in these sectors, this is how much money energy efficiency is saving over the lifetime of the equipment. So just to give you an example, by investing, let's say $1 in buildings energy efficiency improvement, you'll be saving $2.4 over the lifetime of the equipment. And in the industry, this is 7 times the price. So on average, we'll be saving 3 times what we invest. This is to parallel investment rates and profits in other sectors. And really the market has to ramp up for energy efficiency as it is extremely cost effective. Finally, I wanted to share with you some of the key initiatives that we're now promoting across the world. The first one is the super efficient appliances deployment initiative that was carried out by the UK government in COP26. It is now officially the largest energy efficiency initiative in the world, and it's meant to provide a clear pathway, political pathway for governments trying to raise ambition for efficiency levels in the end use of appliances. These are the countries that have signed the joint agreement at this stage, and we are hoping that this will be increased in the next year. And I'm very happy to engage with any of our colleagues today listening to see how we could engage with your countries on this. Another dimension that we want to also promote is the work on buildings and construction. We had a specific roadmap for Africa in the transformation of the building and construction sector to ensure that this sector reaches net zero. As we all know, urbanization in Africa will be a major driver of the next years, and the buildings will lock emissions and energy consumption for the next 20 years. So it is crucial that we adopt the adequate steps as of now, so that we are not locking in energy demand and energy consumption for the next 20 years. So the roadmaps have a comprehensive approach from the urban planning down to the energy mix of buildings, going through which materials are being used, how to retrofit buildings, how to build new buildings with building codes, and how to ensure that this is all locally produced so as to improve resilience. So really happy to also share the details on this initiative, but we'll be now trying to go to the national levels and providing key maybe support to our partners on how to develop roadmaps for the building sectors. This work was based on surveys that we carried out with our partners, and here is the list of the countries that we had engaged with and responses for. So very happy to collect more information from your side and collect your inputs. Finally, just wanted to share with you some of the resources that we have on energy efficiency. So we have developed different resources that are free and available on our web platform, which are two online courses on indicators for energy efficiency, the one on basic statistics, and the second one on how to use those statistics for policy development. We also have a massive online open course on buildings energy efficiency, and we collect all database on policies implemented across the globe, and we're now promoting, of course, digitalization as mentioned. Some of the recent work published by the IEA, where energy efficiency plays a central. With that, I'll maybe leave open for question and hand it over back to Dakia. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Hugo, for sharing with us all the key insights from the report, and also for giving this broader picture of the IEA work on energy efficiency. I hope that the participants have benefited a lot learning what we are working on. So if you have any questions for Hugo, please take this opportunity that we have Hugo with us to send your questions through the Q&A box, or take the floor if you wish so. So we have some participants who have raised their hand. So we have Mr. Percy Shisanga who has raised his hand. So please, you can talk.
Thank you so much. Maybe just a question. What I've noticed in the report is we've not captured any investment coming out from Africa, just to show how the recovery process in terms of the implementation of this clean energy is being driven, or to what percentages are the efficiencies being applied. We do appreciate that we've seen other countries like South Africa, Nigeria being in that band of application, with most of the African utility countries not members. But isn't there a way in which we can start showing that participatory aspect, or the level of commitment that is coming out from Africa, so that we try to see how we are comparing ourselves to the European or the Western that have been posed on the report? I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question that allows me to maybe yes, build on that comment. So one of the key limitations that we have is access to data. And in particular for our colleagues working in the sub-Saharan region, this is something that we're definitely trying to improve. So we've been working with ICRI, IACRI, SACRI, and the regional organizations to have access to this data. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're not able to really have robust information on investment. So this is why we have usually more aggregated approach, and even that, has some sensitivity when we present emerging economies or some continents comparing to others, as the message has to be accepted by most of our partners. Not to, for example, we have to be cautious not to imply that emerging economies are not investing enough in energy efficiency. If we if we were to compare on how much is invested in advanced economies that have much more resources, such as Europe, etc. So I would be very happy to follow up discussions on the different sources that exist. But note that, yes, we are in discussions with the African Bank of Development on this side and the regional organizations, as well as Africa and the partner countries. Of course, South Africa being one of the longest countries with which we have been engaging. So sorry, this is not a clear answer, but mainly the issue here is kind of a lack of data that doesn't allow us to have a robust figure for our colleagues in Africa.
Thanks, Hugo. We have another question from Mr. Israel. So Mr. Israel, if you want to take the floor.
Hello, good morning, Zakia and Hugo.
Hello. Please.
Yeah, it's nice. Yes, it's Israel. I'm Israel.
Yeah, perfect. Please go ahead if you have
Okay.
a comment or a question.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the effort you are putting in and the team as well. I have a few comments, perhaps one may be a question regarding the energy efficiency presentation that Hugo just did now. The question will be on the drop in energy efficiency gains. My question there is, what was responsible for that drop in energy efficiency gains that we saw in that graph? And in your projections, do you see any way, anything that is being done in order to help to improve that drop that we saw in that graph? And then the other question, or perhaps a comment that I want to make, is that one of the issues that we've had here, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, is financing energy efficiency projects or technologies. You know quite well that we have a huge population of sub-Saharan Africans whose income are on the low, and most of them could barely feed, let alone going for energy efficient technology. So I am just wondering if in your advices, because I know that your publications probably may have been sent, or your suggestions may have been sent to the government of the respective countries as to how this can be achieved. So do you include in your advices how this can be done for the population of us that may not be able to afford these energy efficient technologies? Those are my two concerns and comments.
Thanks a lot, Israel, for sharing your thoughts and for the question.
Sorry, I wanted to come back to the slide that shows the drop. I will try to put it back on screen, so to maybe have kind of a historical analysis. Okay, I'm going to try to share it back again. Let me know when you see it.
Yeah.
Yes, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you put it on maybe full screen. Yeah, perfect.
Yes. So one of the main drivers for energy efficiency improvements, and that kind of explains the changes, is just looking at China and China's 5-year plans. So China's 5-year plans are a major driver of energy efficiency improvements. In particular, the industry. So, this is what we have seen, is that with the end and the targets met by Chinese leadership in energy efficiency promotion, this impacts overall figures. So usually we try to have both figures, one with and another without China. As we know, China has an industry sector that is massive. So in terms of, for example, just cement and iron and steel, they represent more than 60–70% of productions just in internal use. So keep in mind that it's difficult to have a single indicator, even though that's the one that we use as a first approach here at the IEA. But note that there are a diversity of parameters happening in the world. The one in the drop that we see in 2020, so that's the more recent one. So again, we are saying that energy efficiency is improving. It's just that it's improving at a slower rate, right? So the slowdown in the improvement from 2019 to 2020 is due to mainly COVID impact on the structure of our economies. So just to give you an example, when you're producing steel, you have a blast furnace that you will never turn off, okay? And when you produce 1 ton of steel, it's really cheap. It's maybe a few tens, maybe $70 or a few. It's really cheap to produce 1 ton of steel, although it's extremely energy intensive. And this during the pandemic wasn't really stopped. So energy intensive sectors kept their output ongoing. On the other hand, the sectors that produce a lot of GVA, value added and economic figures, such as restaurants, food and beverage, or any other economic activity, those ones were closed. Hotels, etc. The ones that don't use a lot of energy but produce a lot of economic output. So when you look at those two, that means that you have a more energy intensive society. So the pandemic, left, let's say, on the energy intensive sectors, while it had a major impact on the economic intensive sector. And this indicator is how much GVA is produced by one unit of energy. So one unit of economic output, the amount of economic output by unit of energy. So this is why we see a drop in 2020. And because we had a drop in 2020, now that some countries are easing on the lockdown, then we're starting back to see the same levels as we saw before. So that kind of explains the different the impact of the pandemic on our figures, and also to keep in mind that the different and major countries' policies will have an impact on our overall trend. So mainly Europe, North America, and China. So that's the first question. Looking forward, what we could do to make sure that energy efficiency is improved. The basic recommendation that we're trying to promote is to have not a single policy that will fit everyone, but to have a policy package approach, which is to have a mix of regulation, information, and incentives. This allows us to really see or have maybe an estimation of where certain countries could improve their legislative package. So, for example, it might be that you have good regulation in place, but you don't have the incentives that go with it, so as to ensure that energy efficiency thrives. So really, to keep in mind is that what we try to adapt is to really support our partners by looking at the policies that they have and seeing through it regulation, information, and incentive where we see that there might be support needed. So that's how to look forward. But of course, the main guidelines are minimum energy performance standards for appliances, fuel standards for transport, and in the industry using more efficient electric motors. These are basic steps, and they provide major sources of saving. So that's for the looking forward perspective. And finally, how to make more efficient appliances available to sub-Saharan populations that might not have the capital to invest in this. So this is a big question, and there are, I'm sorry, this is a long answer maybe. There are two ways or two examples that we think could be promoted. The first one is one that has been maybe developed by India, by the Energy Efficiency Service Limited. This is an energy service company that is state-owned and that has been changing light bulbs all across India. This has had many benefits. The first one is that he has created an internal demand for LEDs, which has in turn created the demand for industry to produce it, creating jobs. And this has driven costs down because the more you produce a technology, the cheaper you're able to produce it. Of course, India is a very large market, and therefore to apply this approach, the Super ESCO model is called, to apply it to Africa, we would need to adopt, or it would be maybe possible to adopt it if we adopt a regional approach. So, multiple countries getting together and developing the supply chain for LEDs and specific appliances for the region, so as to combine resources and share the benefits. So that's one way that could be done. The other one are new business models that are being deployed. They are called sometimes pay as you go. So you don't really buy the appliance, you just pay monthly tariff that will only be for the use of the appliances. So it's so the company. So one example that we have is B-Box that you might be aware of, is that they provide the whole infrastructure, the solar panels, the efficient appliances, and you only pay the energy use for and a bit of extra for the use of the different appliances. So it allows not to request the full capital cost, but just to have kind of a leasing approach. Those are two ideas, but happy to discuss any other way to do it. We believe that there will be need for government support. That's definitely for sure, as the market doesn't seem to be functioning well in terms of for the energy efficiency sector, not only in sub-Saharan Africa, but even in the rest of the world, where even though energy efficiency is extremely cost effective and very profitable, as I was mentioning, internal rate of return, more than 30% is just amazing. So really cost effective, really profitable to invest in energy efficiency, but still investment is not ramping up. So government could step in when at the same time as we develop new business models for the private sector to also participate. Sorry, that was a bit long, but difficult questions.
That's perfect, Hugo. I don't see any more questions, but we have still a few more minutes left. So please don't hesitate if you would like to raise some comments with us, share your insights on the energy efficiency work that you're doing in your country. If you know of some other material that could be useful to our work. No more questions? Then I think we can close down this session. Thanks a lot, Hugo, for joining today and sharing your work with us. And on behalf of the IEA, I would like to wish all of you an excellent end of the year 2021 and a happy new year 2022. I hope that next year we will have more activities and we will be able to work more closely as well together despite the pandemic and the situation. So thank you, everyone. And we have recorded this session and we will be putting it on YouTube as usual. And so you can also share with your colleagues and see and watch again the video. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And don't hesitate to reach out for any questions.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.